Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about all of the new releases that happened in 2021. So my favorites, the ones that I still need to read, and we are going to kind of go through what's left of the Goodreads Choice Awards. Sorry, my dog wants to play. I don't normally check the Goodreads Choice Awards. This has really been my biggest year of reading. So normally in the past I haven't really paid attention to them, so I don't really know how they work. But this year I did want to kind of go through them to then make a list of which ones were my favorites and which ones I'll be voting for, and then also the ones that I still want to read or just have absolutely zero interest in reading. So we're gonna just go through each category that I care about. I don't care about all the categories necessarily. We're gonna go through the general fiction, mystery, thriller, romance, horror. There's gonna be lots on here probably that I have not read, but that's totally okay. This is just kind of a check-in for me, but you know, I also want to see which ones were nominated so that I can make a list of which ones I still really want to read. That's kind of the main purpose of this. So let's just start with the first category here, which is general fiction. It's now knocked down to 10 books. So they've eliminated already 10 more. They've eliminated half because they started with 20. So I guess we're gonna look at these 10, and I have not read a single one of them. We have Once There Were Wolves by Charlotte McConaughey. I've heard really good things about it, and I'm not really surprised that it's on this list. I did get it for my December book of the month just because I've heard really good things about it and it's gotten such great ratings, so I did want to check it out and read that one eventually, so that's definitely on my TBR. The Guncle, I don't really care too much about. Definitely would not be prioritizing that. Nicholas Sparks, I wouldn't really care for either. Sally Rooney, do not really care for. The Cloud Cuckoo Land by Anthony Doerr, though, I don't know much about. It is the same author as All the Light We Cannot See, which I never read, but I've kind of heard a little bit here and there about it, but I don't really know if people have said it's good or bad. I've just heard people say oh yeah, I really want to read that. So I don't know how I mean, maybe, but I don't know. And then the Ellen Hilderbrand Golden Girl, don't really have an interest in reading. The Paper Palace by Miranda Cowley Heller, though, is a future family book club pick, so I will be reading that eventually. Probably in February or March next year, I think I'll be able to get to it. Dial A for Aunties by Jessie Q. Sutanto. If I'm ever really in the mood for that, I guess I might pick it up. It does sound interesting and kind of cute, and I see it at Target all the time, so eventually I might get to it, but it's not on any sort of priority list. And then the reading list, I just recently heard some things about, and I'm actually very interested in it, so I think that this will make the list to read pretty soon. And then Detransition Baby by Tori Peters. I don't know tons about, and I don't know if I'd really have an interest in reading it, but never say never, I guess. Okay, and so that's that. Yeah, I have not read a single one, so I can't vote for one, obviously. But let's move on to the mystery and thriller category. Okay, so we have the Stephen King, Billy Summers, obviously, which is categorized more as mystery thriller than horror. That's interesting. So I'm definitely wanting to get to that. If it's more of a thriller, that's interesting. And then The Wife Upstairs by Rachel Hawkins has been on my TBR. I definitely want to read that, as well as Razorblade Tears. I have not gotten to it yet, but those two are definitely on my to be read soon list. Apples Never Fall, I did read. Did not love. It was kind of a waste of time for me, and it's definitely not a thriller. I mean, it could be a mystery, but it's more contemporary, so I don't know why it's on here. It's also not good, so I wouldn't recommend. Okay, and then we have Colson Whitehead Harlem Shuffle. I don't know anything about this. I have seen it. I'm definitely interested to look more into it because I don't know what it's about, but that is on a maybe list, possibly. The Maidens, I did read. Rock, Paper, Scissors, I did read. They were both okay. Rock, Paper, Scissors was better for me. I didn't love The Maidens that much, but I did really like Rock, Paper, Scissors. I think it was a pretty unique, interesting thriller, so kind of makes sense why it's on the list, but I don't know. The Push, I definitely want to read. Need to read that really bad. I really want to. Then The Last Thing You Told Me, I did read. It was okay, not great. And then Arsenic and Adobo, I haven't read yet, and it's on my TBR, I guess, but not prioritizing it. But if I have time to squeeze it in one month, I will, because it does sound cute and kind of fun. Okay, Next category is historical fiction, and I don't read a ton of this, so looking at this list here, I don't recognize a couple, and the only one I have read is Malibu Rising. So I definitely don't know what the Rose Code is or the Dictionary of Lost Words. Heard a little bit about the Paris Library, but not much. Hour of the Witch, I don't know. Lost Apothecary, obviously I do. And the Lincoln Highway, I know because of Book of the Month. The Four Winds, yes, that would definitely be on my TBR. I have no idea when I would get to it, but since that won Book of the Month, Book of the Year, I would like to get my hands on it first of all and read it eventually as well. The Lost Apothecary I'm interested in reading. I don't know about the Lincoln Highway, if I'd ever read that. Yellow Wife I've never heard of. I've read Malibu Rising and it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. And then I don't know the Personal Librarian. So obviously the only one I've read is Malibu Rising, so that would be my vote, but that's a little unfair since I haven't read any of the others, but I have a feeling the Four Winds will win. Also, why is the Lost Apothecary even on here? Is that historical fiction? That just looks so fantasy too. That's weird. Okay, anyway, speaking of fantasy, let's move on to that category. Okay, haven't read lots of fantasy at all this year just because it's not my favorite genre. So looking at the list, I have read 0, and the only ones I'd really care for are A Court of Silver Flames and Crown of Gilded Bones eventually, but I haven't even started or even thought about reading From Blood and Ash. And then I've only read the first 2 of Akatar. So that's that. Maybe I would eventually read She Who Became the Sun, The Inheritance of Orchidia Divina, and that's it. Like, I don't really care for any of these. So we're gonna move on to romance. So for romance, I feel like I have read quite a bit. So let's see, the list here is The Ex-Hex, garbage, no thank you, did not like that one bit. It Happened One Summer, I have not read, but that's a maybe. 7 Days in June, I have not read either, also a maybe. I haven't heard too much about it, but I mean, I've heard it's good. That's a maybe. Actor Eve H. Brown, what did I just say? Actor Age Eve Brown. I feel like I always mess up that title. I always say it wrong. I did read, I didn't love it. It wasn't my favorite. It was okay. Whatever. The Spanish Love Deception. Yes, I plan to read it. Have not yet, but I've heard such great things. Neon Gods. I don't know if I'll read that. Maybe if I'm feeling freaky, but probably not. The Soulmate Equation. I still need to read it because it's Christina Lauren. Duh. The Love Hypothesis. I have read, absolutely loved. One Last Stop, I have it, but I have not read it. And then obviously People We Meet on Vacation, also love. So I'm super happy that both People We Meet on Vacation and The Love Hypothesis are both on here. And I think I would have to go with The Love Hypothesis. But that makes me sad because like I feel like I'm cheating on People We Meet on Vacation because I loved her first, you know? So that's really hard to choose, but I love those two so very much and I'm happy they're on here. Okay. Now science fiction. I really love science fiction and I kind of just realized that this year. So I haven't read a ton, but I like would really hope to next year. That's a goal of mine, to read more science fiction because I really do enjoy it. So far, I mean, I need it to be done well and in a certain way for me to enjoy it. But looking at this list, I haven't heard of a couple of them. I don't know Fugitive Telemetry, Winter's Orbit. Project Hail Mary, absolutely yes, I want to read. That's like #1 on here that I do want to put on my TBR and prioritize. I actually have read Remote Control and that was pretty good, but it wasn't great. I did enjoy it and it was kind of cool, and sometimes little bits of the story kind of randomly come back in my brain and I think about it and I'm like, oh yeah, that book. Like, I don't know, it just was kind of an interesting world. I don't know, like it was okay. And then the Light of the Jedi, I don't know, that's kind of funny to see Star Wars book on here. Interesting. I've never heard of it and I don't think I'd ever read it, but I'm just gonna stick to the movies, you know? And then A Psalm for the Wild Built. The cover is very intriguing. I've never heard of it, so I might have to look more into that one purely based off the cover. And then Clara and the Sun, definitely want to read. That's on my TBR. The Echo Wife, don't really know what that's about, but I'll possibly look into it now that it's made the nominations. The End of Men, don't know. Light from Uncommon Stars, don't know, but I'm willing to look into these because I do want to read more sci-fi next year. I might have to prioritize a couple of these on here since they were nominated. but who knows. Okay, next is the horror category. Let's see, we've got The Drowning Kind, I've never heard of. A Dowry of Blood I did read and I really loved that one. The Last House on Needless Street, don't really care to read that. All's Well, I'm planning to read soon. I really do want to get to that maybe by the end of the year, but I'm not sure. The Final Girl Support Group I did read and I did not like it at all. It was terrible. I wish I DNF'd it. Like, I feel like it was such a waste of my time. Cackle, I don't know. The Book of Accidents I do want to read. I don't really care to read My Heart is a Chainsaw because I don't really love Stephen Graham Jones. I haven't loved his books in the past, so probably not. Summer Suns I don't know anything about, but would be willing to look into it. The cover is actually kind of cool too. I'm just now realizing what is happening in there. And then we have another Stephen King. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't read any Stephen King yet, but I need to get to it. So yeah, that's that. And then I don't really care about humor. We'll look at nonfiction. Of the nonfiction, the only ones I would care to pick up probably would be Cultish and The Comfort Book, just because I've heard a bit about Cultish and maybe it would be interesting, I don't know. And then The Comfort Book just because of Matt Haig. I read The Midnight Library, so I'd be interested to read his nonfiction. But John Green's The Anthropocene Reviewed, I'm really interested in. I'm actually gonna prioritize that hard, like next year as soon as possible, because I think the concept of it, like what it's about, sounds really interesting. Like I'm very, very intrigued by it. Yeah, I'm also getting that one in my Book of the Month box, so I will have it and I might start it right away because it sounds really good. So yeah, that's that. Memoir and autobiography, let's just look. But okay, so of these, the only two that really interest me are Crying in H Mart and Somebody's Daughter, again because of Book of the Month, but other than that, don't really care. Let's look at debut, go down to debuts, because TBH I don't really care about the rest. We have We Are the Brennans, which I did read. Did I say that already? It was pretty average. The Gilded Ones, yeah, I already talked about a couple of these. So on my TBR, I would probably also add The Firekeeper's Daughter. And then Honey Girl I did read and I did not like that at all. Did not like that book. It was pretty bad. I don't know why it's on here for a debut. And you know what should be on here is Ace of Spades, which is on Best Young Adult Fiction at least. I think that one should win. I would vote for that for Best Young Adult Fiction. I guess for debut then, I haven't read any of the only one I read is We Are the Brennans. Horror, did I read any of the horror? Oh yeah, I read A Dowry of Blood, so I guess I would vote for that one. Yeah, okay, so I'm not really voting for any of these because I've literally only read one in all of these categories. But let's go back to young adult fiction. I do eventually want to read The Hawthorne Legacy once I read the Inheritance Games. Same goes for Box in the Woods. I haven't started Truly Devious yet. Aristotle, I haven't read the first book, but I've heard great things, so I would have to read that one first and see, but there's that. And then Last Night at the Telegraph Club looks really interesting, just again based off the cover. I haven't heard anything about it, but I love city settings like that. Instructions for Dancing I did read and I really liked it. It was a very emotional romance. I don't know if it's best young adult fiction. I mean, it's pretty good. There was good life lessons in that, so I guess maybe. But The Cousins I haven't read. I maybe would read that. Concrete Rose, I don't think I'd really have an interest in reading. Again, Firekeeper's Daughter I would read. As Good as Dead, if I ever got to the first books in the series, maybe. And then Ace of Spades I have read and I would vote for that one for this because I think it was really great. I think it should win. Young adult fantasy and sci-fi. Looking at this here, I haven't read any of them, but I guess I'm really looking forward to reading Our Violent Ends. Definitely want to read that one because I read These Violent Delights this year. Maybe Once Upon a Broken Heart. Definitely not Any Way the Wind Blows or Lore. I'll eventually get to Chain of Iron once I get there and all of Cassandra Clare. Maybe Iron Widow. Definitely not Sky Beyond the Storm. Eventually Rule of Wolves and maybe Gilded Ones I would read. So yeah, there's that. And then finally we have middle grade and children's books. I'm not a huge fan of middle grade, so I don't really care too much about this list, but do really want to put Amari on my TBR and Bridge of Souls by Victoria Schwab I will get to eventually because I did read City of Ghosts earlier this year. But other than that, maybe I'll get to them if I ever feel like I'm in the mood for something like this, but that's that. I do have a list here that are my favorites from those releases. I just want to point out really quick: People We Meet on Vacation, Ace of Spades, Instructions for Dancing, Malibu Rising, The Love Hypothesis, A Diary of Blood. So yeah, those are the Goodreads Choice Awards as of right now. We're down to the top 10 for each category. Those are interesting results. I know people love and hate the Goodreads Choice Awards because they can sometimes be a little biased and whatever, but I think they're fun nonetheless. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye!